Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How you doing? It's Russ here from Porky's Corner, the voice of hardcore boxing. Can I just say a quick thank you to the Dripping Tap? Sent me a load of these. People that are asking for the Dripping Tap's return. I see him regular, but he's just not bothered about coming on channel. So a couple of people keep leaving comments about him all the time coming on. He's a great guest, but he's got a lot on at the moment. But he will be making a return soon. Today I'm joined by Rico. How are you doing, Rico, lad?
Yeah, good. We've had a big 24 hours of boxing with announcements about stuff that we've already known, but at least we've got some clarity on things.
Yeah. What do you think, Rico, about the DAZN and the Sky Sports situation at the moment? What do you think? It looks to me like Eddie's not really shut the door on Sky, still trying to stay relevant with them, innit? Do you think?
Yeah, I think as long as Joshua's there, he has to appease Sky and, be open to a return at some point. I don't think, it all hinges on how well DAZN does and how many subscribers they get and whether they get the boxing investment, because the reality is that they'll have a deal for 5 years. But if boxing isn't to drive off subscribers globally and in the UK, then why will they keep investing in it? They might as well go into another sport. But DAZN are pretty much in bed with Matchroom. I think they're also on the stake of Matchroom these days. So I think Sky and Matchroom relationship has to be strong because of all the other sports. It's not only boxing, but darts and whatever other stuff they put on there. So Eddie, as the chairman or CEO of Matchroom, he needs to keep that relationship strong. So he can't go criticizing Sky, but he has made a few sly digs by saying about how much better DAZN's platform is, and also the fact that they're not forced to put on as many pay-per-views. It doesn't rule out all pay-per-views, but they won't be forced to put out as many pay-per-views. And now he's admitted the cards have been pretty poor over the last 18 months.
What I've noticed is, can I just give myself a pat on the head for getting it right?
Well done, Porky.
18 months ago, I said, it's every man for themselves. They're all going to jump ship. Now, we saw Bean make his move. He started doing courses about darts commentary. Barney Francis, he's been looked after, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Why are Bean and Barney Francis being looked after when Eddie's supposed to be leaving Sky?
I guess it's, Bean probably because, he's probably not bad at his job, right? As an employee, Dart is a pretty safe pair of hands, and also Eddie knows him, so Eddie will put him onto the darts or make sure the Sky put him onto darts and keep him on. Barney Francis is long-term ally of Barry's and Eddie's, so he'll be looked after. I guess they know where the bodies are buried, and if they went to a rival network, they would have quite a lot of information. And I think also, it's all about the family. And when I talk about family, I mean about the mafia and the cult of Matchroom. So keeping everybody close, keeping everybody aligned. It's not my fighters are my family. It's more these guys that can do damage for me, whether it be Bellew, whether it be Froch, whether it be Barney Francis, whether it be Adam Smith. They're all going to be kept close.
Looking at Tony Bellew's tweets, somebody sent me them. Chris, thanks for sending me them, Chris. Dale Nichols got it right about Tony Bellew. This is a grown man. Look what he's been putting out about DAZN and that. I mean, Bellew's been on Sky years. He's had 4 pay-per-views with Sky. He's swerved the WBSS tournament. He's been protected all the way by them. He's been given pundit work, media work, Soccer AM, you name it, League of Their Own, the lot. Documentaries done about him by Sky, but when the push come to the push, he's an Eddie man through and through, isn't he, like Darren Barker?
Well, isn't he part of Matchroom, as he says, we sign fighters and we own negotiators?
Yeah.
He must own a % of Matchroom, which I'm yet to see in the filings. But I've never seen an employee that's as invested in the company they work for or their former employer as Tony Bellew is.
Yeah, it's kind of it's pretty embarrassing because soon as he does something like that, my inbox blows up with helmet votes for him, and that's why he's always there in helmets. He's had a steady month last month, but you know he's leading the pack this month already. He cannot help himself, can he? This is a grown man.
Well, it's a bit sad, isn't it? But I guess he wants to stay relevant in boxing, so him leaving boxing and moving on never really happened, as we know.
He's putting tweets out about that, but yet he's got nothing to say about Billy Joe Saunders' situation, has he? I find that strange, do you?
Well, he's probably been told not to put anything out, right? He is a mouthpiece for Matchroom, so Matchroom have done quite well, which Warren hasn't done actually, is getting a lot of these credible boxing personalities to endorse their product, right? They like influencers on Instagram that are trying to push CBD or, you know, the latest beauty products. All these people in boxing, in one way, sort of are pushing Matchroom, which means that you start believing the hype and you start believing cards that aren't good are good unless you listen to outlets like these or Ultratech Raw or, you know, Terry's podcast, Highfield's box.
Yeah. Big shout out, Terry. I feel boxing. Oh, you well, Terry?
Yeah, that's the thing. So these people are trying to convince and spin the narrative constantly because I think Bellew will have lots of followers on Twitter that aren't boxing fans. So you'll have your Liverpudlians, you'll have your Everton fans, you'll have others that just follow sports figures. So if they're telling you something's a good event or a good fight or somebody's a good fighter, or then you're more inclined to believe them than you are to believe fringe outlets like this or, you know, mainstream media.
Do you feel that, especially since they got that big 5-year extension deal, do you think that the content were watered down after that and Eddie were in the driving seat once he got that deal?
I don't think it's that deal per se. I think it's more actually when Matchroom expanded to go to the US, that's really when the wheels started coming off because a lot of the UK fighters were sent to the US. A lot of the focus was on expanding aggressively in the US as opposed to the UK.
Yeah.
And what you ended up having is actually this crop of fighters from 2016 wasn't as good as the one from 2012. They missed out on a lot of talent, whether that be Daniel Dubois, whether that be Joe Joyce, or, you know, the likes of Anthony Yard, who could have been, you know, guys that could have headlined shows. So they ended up basically fielding these guys that are learning their trade on headlines. And, you know, all the guys like Luke Campbell and others were all sent to the US.
Do you feel that Joshua will stay with Sky Sports? Because he's not putting anything out about DAZN at the moment, is he, on his social media?
Well, he's not contracted to DAZN at the moment. He's got one more fight left with Sky. So I think he can't really promote DAZN, can he? So I think he'll go where the money is, look 258 and himself, look after themselves. I think it will be a similar setup to what, you know, what Eddie has for Canelo, where he's effectively the events manager. Because what does Joshua need Eddie for these days? Negotiation, speaking to governing bodies. You know, he takes the Shelley Finkel role. Shelley Finkel is in front and center of what Wilder does. So I think he'll be looking for something similar, and that probably means a smaller cut for Eddie. But the interesting thing will be if Joshua does stay on Sky, and actually the next Joshua fight on Sky, who will be on the undercard? Will it be guys from 258? Will it be just a collection of fighters? So you might have, for example, you might have some good one fighters and others on the undercard, or, you know, some unsigned guys. Like, what's going to be the model, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see it all pan out now, Rico, isn't it?
Yeah, look, the model's going to be telling, right? If you've got Lawrence Okoli and Buatsi on the Joshua's next undercard on Sky pay-per-view, then that means that whatever the deal that Matchroom has done with DAZN, it doesn't exclude using some of their fighters on other networks for example, for Joshua undercards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting times ahead.
It's a very precocious situation, this, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I did. I'm going to say it again. I'm proud of myself for saying, you know what? When these worms squirm, they squirm, don't they? And look at them all squirming now and jockeying for position. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
See them all squirming on a daily basis on the social medias because nobody knows which way it's going to go, do they? So a lot of people are staying silent, and a lot of people are coming out going, "I'm Team Eddie." You know, we know who they are, don't we? And there's people that don't know just what to say because if they say something, "Oh, I'm Team Eddie," and Eddie don't get in touch with them, they're going to want to be Team Sky, aren't they? So there's a lot of them basically filling the nappies.
Yeah,
that's
agreed.
What's going on. Yeah, because there'll be some dead wood thrown by the wayside, won't there?
I think there'll be lots of it, right? But then the other thing is you might have these guys shipped off to fight on cards in Mexico and other places. So I think Eddie said that one of the big ambitions with this whole DAZN thing is that they'll have lots of fights, cards around the world. So what did he say? Over 30 cards a year. Yeah. I don't see where they'll find all the fighters to do this unless they go on a signing spree in those markets or work with local promoters and managers. But I think a lot of these guys, a bit like what they've done with Matchroom Italy, right? Where you ship off your Sam Eggingtons and others onto those cards.
Yeah, your Martin J. Wards, people like that.
The ones that aren't going to sign the UK or aren't going to make a dent in the UK, and maybe they're not good enough for US cards, so you ship those people over.
Do you think that if they don't get Josh Warrington looked after this year, do you think he'll go?
I don't know where Josh goes. His value is low at the moment, so he's a former champion, right? So
yeah,
if he went somewhere else, he'd go somewhere like Top Rank to be an opponent. So if anything, he's best off staying where he is because they can do a comeback fight in Leeds and, when the crowds come back.
Yeah.
It's not to say he's a bad fighter at all. It's more just a case to say that there's, he should have probably stayed at Frank Warren's, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Where does this leave Dillian White, the can't man? Anybody who wants it can't get it.
That's an interesting one because I think I've spoken to Terry about this. White's used to quite big purses. And what DAZN's charging at the moment, £2 a month in the UK. And then they obviously broadcast those White fights and others around the world. So that's part of it. So I'm not sure whether they can feasibly pay what Sky were paying if he's not on pay-per-view. And, he's not, if DAZN are going to be less pay-per-view, so they might put Joshua's and Canelo's and others on pay-per-view going forward, then I think White's probably going to have to actually go through more traditional route. So maybe even, just wait it out and try and get a fight another network. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dillian White ended up fighting on another network against somebody else. But that might be against Joshua on Sky, or that might be on a PBC card, or that might be on a Top Rank card, one of these, because at the moment, the economics of White fighting on a non-pay-per-view platform, he's probably not going to be happy with that.
No, and another thing, Dillian White calling out Chris Arreola, who's over 40. Why is he calling men out over 40 again?
Well, Chris Arreola is coming off a loss, right? So I don't know. I mean, look, Chris Arreola 10 years ago, if you would have called him out, that would have been a decent fight. But Chris Arreola's lost 7 fights. He's not particularly good, is he?
No. He's fat as a pig Michelin man. You know what I mean? So Dillian White, he's in no man's land, but the word on the street is that he's going to fight Joshua next, and they're going to swerve Usyk. What do you think to that? That's breaking news, and that'll be title I'm going to put here on this video.
Yeah, I think sources have said that information, and that wouldn't surprise me, particularly if we can have fans back, right?
Yeah,
there's money that needs to be made, and one way to do that is to do an all London fight, South London versus North London. you know, long time beef, and you know, Dillian White's improved, and he's the most dangerous heavyweight in the world. And
Intense beef. Are we going to have some intense beef again, do you think?
Well, we'll have a lot of swearing in the press conference, chucking tables. Dean White will be there. We might even have Boxercise Ben in the corner on the night. Who knows?
Do you think that they'll be coming out with things like, for real, you know, like Dylan talks like that, doesn't he? For real. It's 1-1. It's a trilogy.
Yeah.
Think he'll be giving it all that? Bruv. Think he'll be giving it all that?
They'll be hyping the fight incredibly, and I think Sky will do that. Actually, Sky will do quite well off that fight. I think, you know, Dillian White has become a legitimate attraction in British boxing, whether we like it or not. People actually pay to watch him. So I think that combined with Joshua's platform, you know, and all British dust stuff, you know, who's the best heavyweight in Britain rather than a Ukrainian cruiserweight against Joshua, which most people don't know.
I want to see Usyk Joshua because I know Usyk dusts him. That's what I want to see. But I remember Robert McCracken.
If he doesn't, he's just a small man.
He done it as a small cruiser, but we all know what Robert McCracken said years ago. We don't want Wilder, we don't want Ortiz, Louis Ortiz, and we don't want Usyk for Joshua. They're the bogeymen. McCracken,
well,
your words. Eh?
Nobody speaks about Ortiz, do they?
And he's an old man now, but nobody mentions him. Ortiz, Wilder, and Usyk. They were the bogeymen for Joshua. And Eddie's signed Usyk, signed Ortiz, and they brought Wilder over and said, yes, please, we're flying you over. You're going to fight Vladimir or Joshua next. Well, Joshua beat Vladimir. That were over 4 years ago that they said that Wilder were next for Joshua. Swerved Wilder. Usyk, they signed him to block so they could park him up, and they parked Ortiz up. So Robert McCracken told the truth, didn't he? They didn't want them people. Wilder, because he's a freak with power, and Joshua's got a glass jaw. Other two, because they're Olympian southpaws. That's the bottom line, isn't it? That to me is ducks.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not one for using the term ducking a lot because I just don't think there's economics that come into it. And also, I think most fighters are willing to fight anybody. It's just a team and the handlers that don't want it. So it's probably McCracken, Eddie that don't think it's a good idea. I think if they have to fight Usyk, they're comfortable in fighting Usyk. I think the big tally will be if you look at who's sparring Joshua, whether they more, you know, you've got Wadi Camacho at the moment, right?
Wadi Camacho? Jeez.
Yeah, but that's perfect sparring. Not perfect, but that's sparring for Usyk, right? That's sparring for Usyk. So we'll see what happens if the sparring partners change and you get more of the heavy set of White, then you might get. That's a good talent, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose. Devin Haney, what do you think to his performance? And is Eddie going to put him in with somebody with a heartbeat next?
You know why? To be honest, he looked quite good for the first few rounds, but the real problem is he has no power. And he faded, as you've said, he faded later in the fight. And, you know, Linares probably didn't have enough left in tank to capitalize. But he's one of those guys that he looks really sharp. He reminds me a lot of Josh Kelly, right? Yeah. He looks really sharp for a few rounds, then he fades. I think with Devin Haney, he's still a young guy, so we still need to give him a bit more time to develop. But I don't. But, you know, that power, if you look at Teofimo Lopez or Tank Davis, around similar weight classes of that at Devin Haney's age, they were just icing people. So I don't think he has the power, and that's going to be a problem because he's actually not that skilled of a boxer, you know, defensively. I don't know whether Boxercise Ben being in the corner made a difference because it seemed like he was taking more hits, more punches than he's ever taken in his career.
Boxercise Ben, he's everywhere at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's loving his grifts, the fruitions of his grift coming to life.
Yeah, it's what do you think about the situation with Ben Davison? Because obviously he's PR friendly in his interviews. You know, but he looks like a schoolboy, doesn't he, mate? In a man's world. What do you think, Rico?
That's an odd question to ask, but I think it's partly as well because he's on TV, right? And a lot of people are just, blowing smoke up his backside on Twitter. So I think a lot of it's just hype, isn't it? I mean, what's he actually done in boxing, right? He's been in the gym when Tyson was there for 2 fights and Tyson running the camp. He was there when Josh Taylor beat the Thai kid that Dennis was going to sign. He was there when Josh Taylor beat Ramirez, which we need to give credit to trainers when they do well or when their fighters do well. So I can't knock him for that, but he hasn't taken anybody. I don't know what the Ben Davidson style is because he has never taken anybody from even A to B. I mean, he seems to take people from C to D.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Look, my point about this is if Shane McGuigan was in the corner the weekend before last, do we think that Josh Taylor would have lost that fight, or would have it been the same result? And I think it probably would have been the same result. So,
same result.
Exactly. So I can't really judge Ben Davidson on many things because he hasn't done much in terms of improving fighters or, monumental upsets.
You have to give Ben Davidson a little bit of credit because he's got his son in the mix, and he off at back of what? Just being everybody's pal.
But isn't that where boxing is going, right? It's not, fighters aren't thinking for themselves. They're not asking people about who's good trainers. They're going for the one that's the name, right? As much as I don't like Sonny Edwards, him staying with Grant Smith, that's a very good trainer. Working with him up in.
Hey, you've got to give him credit, Sonny Edwards. He's stuck with him, hasn't he, like Grant Smith?
Yeah, and also, Grant Smith's a very good trainer. So, he's stuck with Grant Smith rather than going to the next shiny thing. The easy thing is he could have went for Ben Davidson or someone else.
Yeah, little bad man Sonny with his fake chinchilla. Sonny Edwards, you're a ringtail. Terry's best mate.
Yeah.
Little ringtail. Okay then. What do you think is going to happen with company man Nelson?
I reckon he's involved in this Pitch boxing app at the moment, which is like a boxing app for fans. So he's been doing a lot of content with Crawler and your mate Poxton on
Poxton, my mate.
Yeah. So he's been doing a lot of stuff around that. So I think he'll be involved in boxing, but possibly not in broadcast. He'll probably use his platform, so we'll see more of him on IFL and other channels, and then he'll be probably pushing his boxing app and other things.
Okie dokie then. All right then, mate. Well, this is just a quick catch up with you, Rico. Hope you're well.
Good. How about you, Porky?
I'm all right, mate. I'm plodding on. You know that kid, don't you? you know, kid. You know things in pipeline. I'm always up to something, aren't I?
I know. I mean, never a dull moment with your life, Porky.
We've got big things happening, Rico. Big things. There's going to be some thinking to be done, isn't there?
There's always a bit of thinking to be done.
We need a meeting.
Did people send questions over for?
I don't know. I can't remember. I did ask people, send questions in people on members area, and I'll go through them all.
People on the members area, comment to this video your questions, and I'll run through them with Porky.
Yeah.
So we can see, obviously, when people respond or when people write a comment, you can see who's a member. So write any questions you want, so any topics you want us to discuss, and we'll do in a video.
And you can read them out on there, because I don't know how to get it up on the same time as what I've got you on screen.
I'll do it. So the deadline to leave questions is this Sunday. So send over some questions. We'll pick members' preference. So members get to ask questions first, and then we'll pick some other questions. But write down some questions and what topics that you want us to discuss, and we'll discuss them. Obviously, if people write silly things don't warrant proper time, so we're not going to do that.
Right. I've got to go to a meeting now, Rico. We need a meeting here to see about when there's a meeting.
Even though all organisations, meetings about meetings.
Unbelievable. I said, what about? Few petrol receipts. Got to have a meeting and sit down with people. Been fiddling petrol, haven't I?
Well, make sure you wear your sunglasses at that meeting.
What you do, instead of putting 75 in car, you put 60 in and just get food from petrol station. I don't know. I think I've been caught, Rico. Okay then, mate. Well, listen, you take care. Have a great day, and I will speak to you soon, brother.
Speak to you soon, my friend. Cheers.
Peace out.
Thank you.
Well, that were Rico. The voice of hardcore marketing. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment. And leave a nice one about my Oakley sunglasses, because I prefer these to all them other pairs I've got. I don't know why, I just like the wraparound ones. Plus it matches my top. All right. I can't decide whether I'm going to stay clean shaven or stubbly for the rest of the week. So answers on a postcard. Porkycorner@mail.com. Let me know if you think I should have stubble or clean shaven. What do you think, ladies? Peace out.